Alright, thought I'd do a short video on, for San Francisco forklift, and we got a YouTube channel. We should probably do some forklift stuff, huh? So this is a Toyota. I believe this one is a 42-5 FGCU. That 5 meaning 5 series. Then there's 6 FGCU, 7 FGCU, and the newer one's 8 FGCU, which I believe came out in 2016. So this is easy. We're just doing a tune-up on this one. First, remove the engine. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, that's how some of these manuals talk. So this is pretty easy. Toyota used the same 4Y engine for all of its forklifts, changing only the intake, just like Volkswagen, taking a page from Volkswagen's book. So here we go. I've already broken everything loose, and I've taken the distributor cap off here, which is looking ugly. So this is where it gets power from the coil here, and this is where it gets this is where it sends that power to the rotor, which will fire on the 4 spark plugs in time 1432 is the firing order for basically all 4 cylinders. Some of the older ones will be 1342, but you'll find out real quick. So 1432 is the firing order. Toyota is so cool. Most of the Toyota OEM parts, the wires will be labeled what number. So 1, and then here we have let's see, so 1 1 3 4, gotta do it backwards in the camera. 2, somebody do that again. 1 3 4 2 1 3 4 2 1 3 4 2 1 3 4. I'm sorry, 1 3 4 2 1 3 4 2 1 3 4 2. So if you can see the way that the posts go. So this one's pretty rough. Although the graphite looks good, these points here are ugly, and it may not even really be a problem, but the wires most definitely are. These have been cooked to where they're soft and they're saturated with oil, and so they're not staying in the tubes anymore. And we're going to clean the tubes out too, because that's a part of this. I usually try to put some new O-rings on them, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in cylinder number 4. Cylinder number 1 is always at the fan. So a little harder to tell in V6s and V8s. But in inline motors, the counting starts back here. Oh, if you can see my hand. Back there at the fan. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So here we go. This motor's dirty and got a lot of miles on it, but still good. So these spark plugs are pretty severely worn. Holy guacamole! I've seen them where the rod in here is burned down almost to nothing. But here we have very little clean surface. There's rust. That is indicative of water. These are kept outside, however, and I think there was a period of time where they were not used frequently. There's a saying, if you rest, you rust. That's very true. If you let something sit too long, especially outside, oil will attract the water. It'll absorb water. And then you'll get a milkshake looking concoction in your oil, and rookie mechanics will misdiagnose it all the time. Oh, it's a blown hand gasket. Always do a compression test. Always. You never know what you're going to find when you start digging. So we moved our tube from the plug, plug from the tube. Here's our tubes. These are just aluminum. Sometimes I have them with me, but they fly out of the truck real fast. See, then you've got this O-ring here. This one is baked. It's not even pliable anymore. Look at this. It's just like concrete. Oh, I'm going to have to break it off with pliers. That's how cooked on there it is. And it goes here. See if we can give my loyal audience a shot. I don't know. Kind of hard to do. Oh, there we go. Okay, so you see it goes through the cylinder head. Oh, I can almost get it to look down in there. It goes through the cylinder head and down into where it enters the engine. But what we're worried about is right here. This is where the ring sits, and then it'll leak oil here, and the oil will fill the spark plug tube, and then the rubber here, which sits ever so nicely in the tube. There we go. Will absorb all of that oil, like this one is, and it becomes all mushy and it won't stay. Sometimes you can tighten them down with pliers, but it usually just means you need to replace these spark plugs. So we're going to take this out. We're going to put the camera back down. Alright. And we're going to bring these over to the truck, and we'll pop these off. This one's it's so hard, look at that. It's not pliable at all anymore. So, one problem leads to another sometimes. So just bear with me and we'll go ahead and get the rest of these spark plugs out. These are a 13/16. This is a spark plug socket. You used to have a little fancy piece of rubber in here. They get lost and I never noticed, and I just keep working. But I like the grip. This is great to have the grip, and great that if should something happen, you still have a wrench here. If you can't reach it with a socket, you can grab it with a wrench. This Matco, everything I buy is Matco. You choose your tool distributor, whoever you want. This one's a little too tight to use the speed wrench. I have one of the old school speed wrenches. I'll show you guys that in a minute. And we are on customer site, so forgive me if we may have to pause to answer the customer if they've got some other questions. I'm not sure if they have another forklift broken here, but no matter. San Francisco forklift will take care of it. These are the moments I like, Been a piece of quiet. Oh, not too bad, but the electrode's really worn down. Get out of there, tube. Sometimes they're a little stuck. Don't be afraid. Fear not. Jesus said there will be wars and rumors of wars, and fires and famines. But none of these things are the end. They are just the growing pains. He said, in the world you will have many troubles, but fear not, for I have overcome the world. This is the most epic line for me. I've always hung on to that. And I get sometimes in my head of, I got so many problems down here, everything's so stressful, but Jesus said, you will have many troubles here in the world. Fear not, for I have overcome the world. Thank you, Jesus. And let's remember, folks, I turn a wrench unto Jesus. When he gets too hard, I say, Lord, help me break this bolt loose. Or whatever might be going on. All right. Also warned that what we're seeing here is consistency in the wear of the plugs, and so that's good. It's not. I'm not seeing that one cylinder is firing more than the other, although there is a misfire because of the wires, and that's half the reason we're doing this here. And let's see. Where is the customer? Let me pause. All right, just to reassure the customer that yes, we'll have this running good, easy money. When I walked up to it, the key was on, so the battery's drained. We've got a bit of a language barrier here. I speak some Cantonese, but not fluently yet. So I'm trying to learn, and then it just helps to communicate. English is such a difficult language. Chinese is nice and smooth and beautiful. Oh, so here we see something a little bit concerning. See all that white? We don't see that on the plugs, do we? This one's actually not even that bad. But that white, that is unmistakable. That's coolant. So this thing's getting ready to lose the head gasket. Now, I wouldn't run off and tell the customer we're going to do a head gasket job on it, because honestly, it could go like this for another year. And these guys don't use it that much. But that white crust up there on that top, right here, this stuff, that's cooked coolant. And there's only one place it could be coming from. The head gasket there. So let's carry on with the rest of our tune-up. And I want to give my rookie mechanics a little heads up here. I'm going to give you some gold. Let's see here. Come on, tube, get out of there. There she goes. Okay, so look. This is the rotor. Here, see how it sits here in the distributor? They make things these days so they only go one way, so don't worry, you're not going to mess it up. This oftentimes can be, and oftentimes is, about 99% of your ignition problems. These are built pretty well by Toyota, but I've seen more than 10, that this strip right here has a hairline fracture in it. And if it's warm enough outside, it'll run. But if it gets cold, it won't run, right? Because metal shrinks in the cold and expands in the heat. So sometimes it'll be warm enough that it'll expand and it'll touch and it'll go. This is where the electrode touches down right there, see? So it picks up spark from that one, it sends it to this one, and this thing is spinning. And as the wait, this is hard to do with the camera. As it passes these posts, it transfers the spark to that, to the wire, to whichever wire that is, which I believe is probably number 2. And so this is where like all the contact to the spark plug wires is coming from. Now in modern cars, we've eliminated this. We've added coil on plug coil packs, so that the coil is on the plug. Here in this day and age, here in the great 90s, which is farther away by the day, right, guys? Oh, you know what I can do? Flip the stupid camera around there, goofball. I got it in my honor case here. Let's see it there. So here we have this. Whoop, let me show you. This is where our rotor goes. See the flat? Whoops. The flat right here. You can only put it on one way. Right, you can't really mess it up. Oh shoot, I messed it up. No, I'm just kidding. Yep, there we go. Alright, so that's where that goes. And then that other pin, I keep saying the coil. Well, this is the coil here. It used to be a separate device, that you'd have strapped to the side of the motor somewhere. But Toyota, it all comes as one. So here's the coil. This is sending the spark across to this, and then this is distributing the spark as it turns around. The bottom of this is connected to the camshaft, which controls the valves opening and closing, which involves spark, which is timing. And it all works together, just like this beautiful universe and God's plan. Okay, let's go to the truck and get some O-rings, shall we? Alright, there we are. Let's see here. Where are my O-ring boxes? There we are. Alright, blue's metric generally. Red box for standard. Of course, it's a Toyota, so everything's going to be metric. I don't have a way to stand this up here. Every good mechanic, especially in the field, should have a good set of O-rings. These come in handy basically all the time. And then it's especially, for these tubes, you just line them right up there. Boom, that's the one. And I think actually they are, if I remember correctly, they are one tighter than that. I think these are too loose. Nope, that's the one. Son of a gun. Ooh, and I'm going to be out of that size, so we're going to have to order. 1, 2, 3, 4. Beautiful. You could go a little bit tighter. It wouldn't really hurt it. And some things, it's going to be critical to get the right size. Other things like this is just stopping a very low pressure oil leak. These have a little bit applied to them. All right, so just pull this off. Nothing to it, right? All right, now those guys are looking at a forklift back there, and I know they don't know what the heck they're doing, so I'm going to see if they need help real quick, and we'll come right back to this, okay? All right, well, they did bring me another lift. This one seems to be having a couple problems. First off, it needed a regulator adjustment. There's normally a cap over here, and you, let's see here. This little cap will be here to disguise it so you don't know it's there, so only us techs will know that it's there. So pop that off. That reveals an adjusting screw. This usually is a precursor to these regulators going bad. I used to rebuild these. By the time you pay for the kit and the labor, you've bought a new one, even though they're several $100s. So these require particular care when the unit gets older. And so here, underneath here, you will find. Let's see if I can get a shot of it. Put my finger on it. There we go. See that? If I can get the phone to focus now. Let's see. Hold on, bear with me, guys. I'm not a professional videographer. And I got a glare. Okay, so there. That is, yep, there we go. That right there is an 11 millimeter, and it's got a screw across the bottom of it. Should it get stuck? That's your drain. So you know, naturally, propane, as it's cooled and then vaporized. I mean, warmed and then vaporized. It will leave behind a residue in these, and it clogs everything up. Most notably, the oxygen, which will cause it to run a little bit lean. Sometimes it'll do it the other way. It'll clog up the fuel way, and it'll make it run. I'm sorry, I have this backwards. It'll make it run lean. The other way, make it run rich. So that's just food for thought, and a common Toyota problem. Come on, knife, go back together. These, here we go with another. See, this is an 8 series, and you can tell because it's electronically controlled, right? So we've got we've got a cold injector added, and an electronic butterfly valve, butterfly flap, which is this unit. Whoop. No, there. This unit here, on some of them it's facing the other way. But anyway, so inside this unit, this is not serviceable. There is a little adjusting screw here, but you shouldn't ever have to touch it. And by the time you do, it means the plastic gears in here are worn. It's time to change it out. If you have trouble starting in the morning when it's cold, it's often your cold injector here. But very rarely do we have problems with that. We do have problems with our air sensor here. The wires get brittle. This is common everywhere in the automotive industry. And sometimes your valve here will get clogged up with oil. That usually means that the regulator is not being drained and is failing. And then another really common problem with the Toyotas is their whole fuse pack deal here. If you have an alternator that's not charging the battery, test the strength of the battery, because it might be the battery. If you're getting 13.8, for example, that's a battery that's sucking down all the power because it's got a short or it's weak. And then also don't test the alternator from here. Test it at the alternator. Then you can tell what the alternator's doing separate from the battery. Load test the battery. That comes back all good. Or you put in a new battery in it and nothing changed. Or even worse, put a new alternator in it and nothing changed. Which I know is perking some of your ears up. It's this. This is pretty thin in some places. This is really, the plate right here builds up corrosion really fast, and it will lose its connection where it's bolted together, and sometimes it will have a hairline fracture here in the fuses here. So we changed this whole thing out, and it'll alleviate a lot of those problems. But keeping the ground clean also is critical, and since this goes to right here, a lot of times I just replace the whole ground when I do the positive here as well. So on to our next part. One more thing before we walk away. This is how you can tell your water pump is going bad. If you grab your fan and you wiggle it, you've got some lateral play. You can almost hear it. I can feel it in my hand, the vibration of it clicking back and forth. Well, that's because the bearings in here where this pulley rides are starting to get loose. The other way that you'll notice is when these bolts start touching the pulley and the pulley gets shiny right here, that is a dead giveaway that the water pump bearings are going bad. I particularly checked the belt, and the belt is tensioned, but it's wobbling around like it's loose, and that's because our fan is loose because it's on the water pump. Easy fix, easy replacement. Whenever you change the coolant in a Toyota, make sure you open the bleeder and let the air out. Otherwise, you'll blow a hose. And we will come back to drain this one in just a little bit.